Beavis and Butthead intro. All right, here we are, another episode of On the DELO, the podcast of podcast, right? So anyways, that was my cheesy intro. Mike really appreciated that. Mike Christensen is here with me today. I'm excited to have you. Everybody's like, who's Mike, right? So thank you for coming. You own a company called Peak One Builders, correct?
That's correct.
But you have your hands in a whole bunch of other stuff. So before we jump into that, you were pointing at my rat shirt, which everybody loves. But I heard that a little birdie told me that you send text message pictures to Kenny Holmes whenever Rat is on the radio.
I do, actually. I wasn't sure where you were going with that, but...
Yeah, that's pretty funny. People do the same thing with me. Kenny and I have this affinity for Rat. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You know. So tell the audience a little bit about like who you are and just Illinois, right? You went to school.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got a degree and you're doing great things. So just kind of start out with who you are.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up in kind of the typical Midwest family. Go to school, go to college, work for the man type of thought process that I was raised on. But I started doing entrepreneurial stuff, when I was 10, 12 years old. The paper routes, the cutting grass and all that stuff. And, I did that stuff not really understanding what an entrepreneur was, but eventually got an engineering degree and moved here to Scottsdale and never thought that I would stop being an engineer and build houses. But I had done a lot of construction through college, and that was kind of my background as far as what I like to do.
Right. You're doing physical labor?
I was for a while, yeah. Yeah, I was framing houses back in Illinois on big post and beam houses, and so it was a great experience. I loved doing it, but it was never like I'm going to do this as a career.
Right, yeah, I'm not doing this. Right, That's like when I worked at Burger King. I'm like, I'm not doing it, and I get in the restaurant business. Go figure.
Yeah. And then eventually got an engineering degree and tried to get a job back in Illinois. And then I tried to get a job here, and nobody was hiring me. They're like, you just got to move. And I just finally just packed everything up, had no job, moved here, and had a job within 30 days.
Wow. So when did you join the Army?
I joined back in 93, so rewinding a little bit, I had actually, right out of high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I ended up going to an automotive school, and it was the best one in the country at the time. My parents paid for it. It was very expensive. And I realized that was more of like a hobby. And I'm like, I don't really like this anymore. It was like I was into old cars. And I thought that's what I wanted to do. And so I decided, like, I got to go back to school. I got to figure this out. And I didn't want to put that burden back on my parents. They were already nice enough to, foot the bill for this very expensive automotive school. And I only did it for like 3 years. And I was like, this stinks. I don't like it.
Can you talk to everybody else's parents or kids out there? Jesus, okay.
Yeah. So I literally was just driving down the road. And I look off to the side, and I see on this marquee or whatever, in a strip mall that says free college. And, in high school, you get the recruiters that all come from all the different branches of service, and I never paid any attention to it, had, just not the least bit of interest at all.
Yeah.
And I literally just did a U-turn into the parking lot, walked in the door, and I was like, where do I sign? Like, what do I got to do?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Who does that anymore?
Yeah, and my dad was not happy. My dad was. So I joined the Army National Guard. My dad was active duty Air Force in Vietnam and all that. So he was like, "Why didn't you talk to me?" And then on top of it, you join the Army instead of the Air Force. You have no idea what you're missing. And then he's like, "Well, what's your job going to be?" And I'm like, "Infantry."
Oh my God!
So it was just like this trifecta of
Did you ever see war? Or I'm trying to figure out the time that you did.
Yeah, so that was 93. I never would have guessed I'd end up in a foreign country fighting a war. I was deployed twice. The first time was kind of shorter deployment, about 7 months long, and I sat on the border of Iraq and Kuwait and watched the invasion happen.
Oh my
had
God!
No part in it other than watching or guarding a Patriot missile site. Saw no action, but then 2007. So right before 2007, I had been in the Guard for like 13 years.
Yeah.
I was an officer at the time, and kind of went up through the ranks from enlisted, and I decided, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't dedicate my time. I feel like it's selfish of me to stay in. It's not fair to the soldiers, because I was really focused on my business. That was a time when like the economy was just going really strong, when real estate and building was just really strong back in 04, 05, and 06 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I voiced my opinion to a couple people, and then I get a senior officer that came to me and said, look, you're probably making a bad decision. You got 13 years in or whatever it was, and why don't you take a year off and just make sure your head's straight, think this through, see what your business does, and then regroup, a year from now.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, that's probably the wise thing to do. And literally 3 months later, I get a voicemail from this lieutenant colonel is basically like, you're deploying to Afghanistan, you've got 45 days, and basically pack your bags, you're going.
Holy shit.
And that was a game changer, life changer.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So when you say like the military branch that you're in and what you were doing, was this something that when you had signed up, like you're there all the time, or how does that work for people that don't understand?
Yeah, so you've got active duty components to all branches of the military, and then you've got basically a guard or a reserve component that goes with it. The reserve component's tied to the federal government, and the guard is tied to the states. So I was in the guard, and that's what you would typically refer to as a weekend warrior. You've got your weekend drills and your 2-week summer camp. Is a joke, but as you grow up in ranks, you're every week you're doing something, and it just got to be so. It was a lot at the time. Running a business and trying to deal with that. Because as you move up in rank, your responsibility, doubles each time, it seems like. Yeah,
absolutely. So you learn responsibilities. You obviously you get your shit together, and you get college paid for it, I assume.
I did. Yeah. I got my college paid for, which was the goal. So I got an engineering degree out of it.
Yeah. So you got that done. So let's parlay, because I wanted to talk first and foremost about it. About the philanthropy work that you're doing. Yeah. So please tell everybody what that's about.
Yeah, so I ended up going to Afghanistan, come back from that. I finished out my last few years. I did just under 21 years. And as I'm getting closer to, retiring, I started getting a little bit of, anxiety, if you will. Not really, but it was the best way to explain it. Like I started feeling this loss of connection, even though I hadn't retired yet.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is going to be such a life changer for me. Like I'm not going to have all this weekend stuff and all this planning that goes in the meantime, and then I'm gonna not really see a lot of people that I was connected to on a deployment, or just people that became friends over the years, and so I started thinking, like, God, what am I gonna do, or how's this transition gonna go for me?
Yeah.
And it's not anything to compare like a guy coming off active duty who did it full time, multiple deployments. I'm not trying to make that comparison, but still being in it for that length.
There's still
period,
a void.
Yeah, there's a void that you got to fill, and it's just the weirdest thing. Like you start thinking these things, and you kind of put it out to the universe, and you're like, what's this going to look like now?
Right.
And it was just strange, because at the same time, my military boss, who owns his father, his grandfather owns a massive commercial construction company here in the Valley. And Jared Allen from Jared Allen's Homes from Wounded Warriors approached him and said, hey, would you guys be interested in building some houses for wounded veterans? And he was basically like, look, we would love to. We're a commercial contractor. We don't do that. But here, call Mike. And so he passed my name along. And the next thing you know, we did 4 houses for him. And then and through one of them, we got another house through another foundation in California. So we've basically done 5 houses for severely wounded veterans.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell me the process of how that goes along, and what entails building the houses. You donate all the stuff yourself and the labor and the materials, or how does all that work? Or some of it comes from the charity, I would assume.
Yeah. So what happens is when a service member becomes disabled, there's a monetary piece that goes with that, right? Like the government's going to give them a certain amount of money for disability or whatever, and then there's grants basically that they put in place to help these people adapt their houses so that they can have wider doorways, or they got grab bars and showers, whatever all that looks like. And there's some pretty strict rules that the VA has, but over time they kind of loosened up when they were like, look, this is really for the service member, like it should be how they want it, and not let's follow these guidelines so tightly. And they loosened their reins up a little bit. And so Jared Allen's Wounded Warriors program, they have a couple people on their team that would go out and market lumber companies, door companies, window companies, and say, hey, do you want to join our team with the idea that we're going to market you, and we're going to, and we're going to ask you for materials in return to donate those and be a part of this big thing. And so you've got the money from those charities, you've got the money from the VA, and then my company who's building the homes. Some of them were new, some of them were remodels, some of them had additions. And some of them we put pools in.
Oh, cool.
And so you take all of that, and our company would donate all of our time.
Yeah.
And then we would manage the whole project, and we would ask our subcontractors, hey, like, we're not going to ask you to provide any huge discounts, but if you can do anything at all, here's what we're doing, and there's going to be more of these.
That's amazing. So did it, like, when that opportunity came to you, was it just a resounding like, fuck yeah, we're doing this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like no hesitation.
Yeah.
It was like, this is great. This is
cool.
that transition for me.
And are there plans to do more houses down the road?
I hope so. They haven't done one here for a little while. Their vetting process is very strong. The service member has to be severely wounded, so they do vet them pretty hard. They've got houses going on in other parts of the country right now.
Right,
as well, so.
right. And why? I know he's not probably the only one, but I mean, why Jared Allen? Why do you know the story of why he had even gotten into doing such a great thing for veterans and stuff, and putting his name on it?
I think it was his dad was in the military, but I'm not sure what really struck a chord with him, but he's just such a giver when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And he's definitely impacted service members and
That's
what he's
amazing.
doing. And the big difference to what Jared's program does, it's not like they're paying for certain parts of things. They're literally handing somebody an entire house and going, it's yours. You know what I mean? It's not like the person already owns the house and we're going to come in and adapt it to what they like. We're literally either buying and gutting a house, adding addition, or building a new home.
Right.
So it's different from a lot of other programs out there.
And you had told me you just did a house for a guy with one arm.
Yes, the very first one we did. Yeah.
Okay. Like, that's all he has is one arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he deserves a house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Just like I was telling you, I had a gentleman on the last podcast that helps make teachers feel more, let's just say, respected for what they're doing, and does these lunches for them and this and that. And it's so cool to have people in here that want to give back and do stuff. I call it God's work or whatever you believe in, Yoda's work. But it's amazing stuff. So you're doing that. You have your construction company, and I would assume with construction, you've seen kind of all the ups and downs through the marketplace. Now, what's your analysis on today, here, right now? People are listening. They want to know, from a construction guy that builds custom homes, right?
Yep.
To I would assume you do other stuff as well. But what is the marketplace right now? What is it like when you get a bid on a job and you're like, holy crap, my costs are 30% more, 40%. I don't know. Tell me.
Yeah, so it's definitely been a roller coaster over the last, this is our 20th year in business, so we've lived through me being deployed twice, plus that Great Recession, as they called it. And seeing what happened after that. So, it definitely puts a little bit of, I don't want to say fear into your mind, but you're definitely thinking about what the pivot's going to be next.
Yeah.
I had no idea really what happened the last time, how it happened. I was so deep into it, and plus me being deployed for 16 months, it was right in the middle of everything.
Right.
And now, fast forward to, COVID and these last 2 years, and the building industry has just been absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
It's a totally different set of circumstances than the last time before the Great Recession. Especially when COVID hit, lumber prices, went up. God, I don't even remember how much it went up, 100% or whatever.
Right.
And they're still up over 40% from a year ago, and so is drywall and a lot of other building materials. And so I try to follow macroeconomics quite a bit, so I'm understanding what my business might have to pivot to down the road. And I feel like, the overall real estate market here in the Phoenix area, my guess is it's probably going to, drop 15 to 20% for a little while. We probably won't see the impact of it until second quarter next year, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But we track our leads, very closely. And about 2 months ago, we looked at it where it was in comparison to last year, and it was literally like half the amount from the year before. So we're already getting less leads. And what's also strange is, we've got some contractors reaching out to us going, hey, do you got anything we can
Got
bid?
something, yeah.
And they're the ones that have been driving the train for the last 2 years because they know that when the pendulum swings their way, they're in control and they can basically, drive the train.
Completely makes sense. So
Yeah.
would you say you're more of kind of a niche builder in that
Yes.
sense? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we build new custom homes. Like if you looked at our WIP, our work in progress right now, what do we have on the books? Like I've got a house that we just finishing up that's about $550,000, small house, brand new construction.
Yeah.
And then we've got a house that's $7 million that we're finishing up as well. And then a lot of remodels in between. Like most of the remodels we do are our whole house.
Yeah.
Or we're putting an addition on or something like that.
So most, a lot of times you'll get, I mean, kind of like me, people are like, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm an insurance agent. And people are like, oh, you suck, or an attorney or something like that.
Right.
But I think with builders, I mean, sometimes they just think that you're just, idiots, they're just like, "Urgh," and like you have an engineering degree from college.
Right.
I mean, this is a business.
Yeah.
So tell me about like the biggest, the victories that you've learned through operating a business, and then some of the biggest struggles that you've had in the 20 years.
Yeah. So, when you first start a business, it's like you're wearing all these hats,
Yeah.
right? Like you're the guy going and meeting with the customer. You're the guy writing the estimate. You're the guy that's, you're wearing 5 or 6 hats. You're the guy that's writing back then it was literally physically writing checks,
Right?
Carrying that big checkbook around. But, and I wore all those hats for so many years. And I've never taken a business class. I've never had a mentor. 2 huge mistakes right off the bat.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do a little more coaching with people nowadays, and I'm telling them right away, the first thing is like, get a mentor. I'm glad to help. I'm glad to help with coaching. I've been in business for 20 years, and I got a business coach this last year, and people are like, what? Like, why would you do that?
Oh, it's the best thing ever.
And it's a game changer.
Yeah.
It's just
it's
see,
therapy.
Yeah, they see the blind spots. They look at things from a different approach, and really help you out. But so in the beginning, you're wearing all these hats, and me being deployed a couple times definitely was a difficult thing to get through.
Yeah.
But like not having a coach and not having a mentor or not having a business class, like I just didn't know how to. I mean, I was successful. I mean,
right.
Define success. What does it mean, right? But I didn't understand what scaling meant. Yeah, I was hiring people here and there, but it just not understanding what all of that meant from an entrepreneurial perspective. And there's a great book out there, Who Not How. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No,
it's
I
a
haven't.
guy named Dan Sullivan.
Okay.
He's an awesome author. He does business coaching. He wrote this book, Who Not How, but it's all about finding your who to get your work done instead of you doing it. Right?
Yeah.
And then he had a follow-on book called The Gap and the Gain. Just another great book. So many people, they're not living where their feet are right now.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'm going to be down, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, I'm going to be a millionaire. And they're living in the future.
Yeah.
And so it's just that mentality and it's that mindset shift and it's constantly looking at yourself. It's the self-development stuff. What books are you reading?
Mm-hmm.
What podcasts are you listening to? All those things that make you a better leader, a better person. And it's just like the old adage, you get on an airplane. What do they say? Put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
If you're not taking care of yourself and self-care and self-love, you're not going to be good to anybody else.
No, I love all that. I mean, talking about employment, how hard has it been to find, labor right now as far as, and do you hire veterans? Is that a place that you go to if you're able to?
Yeah, we try.
Yeah.
It's a really good question and a little bit of a sore spot. Just being transparent and vulnerable with you here. I had finally hired a COO early this year in February.
Yeah.
And I had tried a couple other guys before and it didn't work out, and we ended up getting a recruiter, and this recruiter found this guy, and it absolutely changed my life. I got my business coach involved. He was part of the interview process, all of this, and he recently just quit to go work for somebody else. And it literally, it just felt like it took the wind out of my sails.
Yeah.
And it literally, after being in business and grinding for 20 years, and you finally get a good person in there to run the operations side of things, it just freed me up and allowed me to work on the business versus in it all the time.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in that pivot where I'm trying to find that person again. So to answer your question, it's challenging.
It is.
And people the last few years, because of the way the economy's been, it's easy for them to jump to another company where the grass is greener.
Right.
And it's like I always try to look back at myself and go, where did we go wrong? Did I do something wrong? Was it an interview process? But you got to look at yourself first all the time. But at the end of the day, there was a different set of circumstances why he left. But
yeah, but you know what? That it speaks to your character as a man in the essence that you care, And the fact of the matter is as an entrepreneur, I can speak from my own behalf that you're going to take that shit personally,
right.
And then like you said, you get really excited when you get somebody good and you've got everybody involved, and like you said, you can, work on the business, not in it. I totally get it. It's that's a tough one, but. Everything happens for a reason, right?
That's right. I'm always a big proponent of life happens for me, not to me, right?
100%. So I think the last deep thing I do want to ask you about, and from your perspective, from my perspective, I'm one of these people, I wake up, every morning at 4, I put my feet on the ground, I thank God for life, and I have my coffee and I pet my dogs and I do all my morning ritual stuff.
Yep.
And I'm excited. Like, I love life. Like, I sleep very well because I sleep well. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have that conscience to be able to sleep well. And I go to bed at 8. My wife and I laugh about this all the time. Like, if we go to supper, it's like 4:30. Right. And so my long-winded antithesis here for this question is, life is so precious. I love it so much, and I'm a giant pussy. I'll just say that. Like, the military was anything I'd ever want to be involved with. I don't understand war. I don't understand people having to do what they have to do. And it's not that I have any sort of opinion on it. I get it. Like, I understand that. I just don't understand why people have to hurt each other. Right. But I also get it,
To solve a problem.
Yeah, right. To solve, that sort of thing. And thank you for your service, by the way, because I'm so grateful for those that do it, because I'm too scared. Like, I'm just like one of these guys that just loves, I'm just a lover. So based on what you've seen, and how you've, obviously been, put out there, how precious is life to you?
It's extremely precious. And, you mentioned your morning routine. Like, I've got mine every morning too. And to me, that's such a huge part to the day, to start the day.
Yeah.
Having gratitude for simplest things. I've got taste, touch, smell. I got family, I got wife, whatever. It's such a very important part to starting my day is being able to have that gratitude. And part of the philanthropy that we're doing is we're trying to start this basically like a retreat for veterans where they can come in and because I've lost 4 people in the last 2 years to suicide. And I've been back from deployment. I came back in 2008, and there's still people committing suicide.
Yeah.
Like, why is this happening?
It's a big problem.
Yeah, and I'm in a couple of mastermind groups, and so I got the idea, like, the VA's just not cutting it, right? It's just a horrible solution. It may help some, but there's people killing themselves still. Like, why is this happening? So I thought, like, let's start a retreat where we're treating it more like a mastermind group. There's mentoring, there's coaching. Maybe we bring in people, if they want to get in the real estate world, we bring in real estate professionals, whatever that looks like. And so that's kind of my 1-year goal here, is to try to set that up.
I love that. I mean, if you have an interest, count me in. I'd love to talk health and wellness and, opening your own business and doing all that.
Yeah.
It'd be amazing. Anytime we can help others that may not have the fortunate, ability quite yet, but they have the ability to do it.
Yeah.
Let's help them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really passionate about that.
Good. I love it. Passion with purpose. That's what it really comes down to.
That's right.
Now, another thing you're passionate about is fishing.
I am.
So I heard that your dog caught a bigger fish than all of you guys last weekend. Why don't you tell that story?
Oh yeah, that's embarrassing. Yes, if you look at our, the boat, it looks like the most, like it's thousands of dollars. It's got all this electronics and all this stuff over it. And, Kenny and I are fishing, and I decided to bring the dog because I just didn't want to put him in the kennel. And
what kind of dog is it?
It total mutt. It has 0 lab in it, and the dog is an unbelievable swimmer. We would literally, 100, 150 feet off the shore, just drop the dog in the water, and it would swim around a little bit, and then he'd just go to the shore and do his thing. He's running up and down the hills, and he would swim back to the boat. And one time I look over at him, and he's sticking his whole head underwater like 3 times, and the water's just nasty. It's like in this back cove, and we're far enough away where you can't tell exactly, and we see him pull something out of the water, and I'm like, I think he's got a dead fish in his mouth. And so I'm yelling at him, of course, and he's not listening to me. And long story short, we ended up, because he wouldn't swim back to the boat, I had to put the boat on the shore and get out and go get him.
Yeah.
And he had caught a bass that was like 15 inches long.
I heard it was bigger than any bass that you guys caught yourself.
It was horrible. It was a bad time for us. So.
My dog caught a bigger fish than me. That is amazing. And you guys, I mean, I know Kenny loves fishing. Kenny's a mutual friend of ours, by the way, everybody. Everybody's like, who's Kenny? Like, no, not on South Park.
Yeah.
But you guys love to camp and fish and do all that sort of stuff. So when you talk about, you talked a little bit about your morning routine or this and that. What else do you like to do because I like asking everybody this. I'm always interested in these perspectives. What do you like to do, mentally and physically to keep yourself in check, day in and day out?
Yeah. Like, so I've got my own morning routine where I get up and I make this like elixir drink. That's kind of how I started out.
Yeah.
And I follow a bunch of different guys on YouTube. I've kind of, a couple of years ago, I went through this journey of mine with a bunch of different things, health and wellness and spiritual stuff and financial stuff. But anyways, I started subscribing to the University of YouTube, right? So learning so much on there. So I make this elixir drink, and, I typically, do some meditation, do some gratitude, pray and do some things like that.
Yeah.
And, end up taking my dog for a walk and just try to get out there and bare feet on the grass. All those, these things that, who knows if it really does anything, but I feel like it does for me. And
100% it does. And you have wife and kids?
Wife.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
We've been married for over 20 years. Actually, next week it'll be 21 years. So
congratulations.
Yeah. But we're real connected spiritually and a lot of self-development stuff. Like I said, I'm in a couple different masterminds, and it's all self-development.
Yeah.
And one of them's more, call it more investment and money based, and the other one's more spiritual based. So it's this balance, it's the yin and the yang of how we live our life.
At what age did that click where you're like, I got to do masterminds?
Literally, it was about a year and a half ago. I couldn't even tell you what a mastermind was.
Yeah.
I found him watching something on YouTube, and it's absolutely changed my life financially.
Okay.
And what it's taught me spiritually and just self-development wise. And I'm really into the health stuff too. So I'm
good. Do you do the cold plunges?
I love cold plunges.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had Michael who owns Optimize. I don't know if you've been there.
No.
But Optimize is one of those places. They have the 2 cold plunge tubs. They have the saunas. They have the the things that go on your arms and legs or whatever. Why can't I think of it right now? Anyways, I love going there. But those facilities more and more are coming out, and people are, and I don't know if you're the type of person that goes to the doctor, and when you go, you get like a panel of, like 16 pages of all your blood, and you nerd out on it.
Before I came here.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah. So you're looking at your testosterone, cholesterol, uric acid, PSA, all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. We definitely will be friends because there needs to be more, more of that talked about. I think on a larger scale, because a lot of men and women, but talking in scale of men of what we are, I identify as a man. We really need to take care of ourselves, and as we get older and shit starts falling apart, it doesn't need to, if you're eating right and doing, the meditation and all that stuff. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, it's I follow like David Sinclair and Andrew Huberman and all these guys, but I tell people all the time, because I'm pretty passionate about being healthy and I say, look, you know what? At the end of the day, you owe it to your family, you owe it to your spouse, your kids, whatever, to be healthy. So stop being selfish and thinking about yourself. Like, let's take some action. Let's do something. And I've literally gotten to the extent of like making bets with my friend. Like, okay, if, a group of friends or whatever. Like, we're going to do keto for 30 days, and nobody's going to drink any alcohol.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I try to,
that's good.
Get them going that way, but.
I know it's real easy, like when you're into it and you're doing it, to look at others and be like, come on, you can do this, But unfortunately, Because I was there. I was a fat drunk, doing my things back in the early insurance business days, and that's just what we did.
Yeah.
And then finally, I got to a point when I was like, 40. I was like, okay, I gotta change the game here because I don't like, who I am physically or mentally.
Right.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I could sit there and talk about, like Tony Robbins' Life Force book or whatever. I love that stuff.
Well, we'll definitely have to nerd out about that more often. Are there any, let's just say, because I am in hospitality, any specific restaurants that you enjoy going to that make you feel replenished, or do you mainly eat at home?
It's funny. I really enjoy cooking.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of my secret passions, I guess. My wife doesn't really like to cook, and I love to cook.
Okay.
And it seems like every time we go out, and I go, God, I feel like it was a lot of money, and I could have cooked better.
Yeah.
So we don't go out as much as we used to.
It makes sense.
But we try to eat healthy when we go out.
Yeah.
We'll go out to a nice, steak restaurant once in a while, but
get the grass-fed one. Yeah.
That's right.
Pick and choose on the menu.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
True food
and all that. Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. I got a couple of rapid-fire questions.
Okay.
All right. This is not a big deal. Don't be nervous. We're all good.
I didn't study for these, so
you don't need to. Would you? That question's not going to work because I already know what the answer would be. Okay. Would you rather wake up at 4 a.m. or 8 a.m.?
4.
Okay. Yeah, I figured that. Would you rather go back to boot camp or do an Ironman triathlon?
75 hard?
Okay. I mean, hey, there's no wrong answer. You can do that. Yeah.
You know what it is?
Oh, yeah. I know 75 hard. Sushi or steak?
Sushi.
Really? Okay.
I got a mercury problem, and I think it relates to how much sushi I eat.
So, yeah, mercury was in my blood, too. I had to, give it up for a little bit. Have you been to Chula Seafood out here? Absolutely amazing.
Not.
You got to check out Chula.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out to Chula. Aliens or Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
Okay. Camping or Hawaii?
I'm going to say camping.
Okay. Fair enough. And then last question is the stock market or bury money in your backyard?
Like for long term?
Whatever you want it to be. No wrong answers.
I'll say stock market.
Okay. We'll talk about that off camera.
Yeah.
I got some stuff. All right. So cool. Where can people find you? Are there things with your philanthropy? I don't know why that word's so difficult to say. Are there places people can donate? I mean, how does all that work? I mean, give out your deets.
We're actually trying to pair up with another organization that's already a 501c3. I think that's kind of the latest pivot, if you will.
Okay.
Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel.
Cool.
And it's a connection through Jared Allen's group, actually.
Yeah.
If you wanted to look us up, you can look up my building company online.
Perfect.
Peak1builders.com.
And that's one spelt out, right?
One spelt out, yeah.
Awesome. And I forgot that. Does your wife work with you?
She's a realtor, so she's sort of works with us.
Gotcha.
And she does, kind of soft marketing, if you will. But
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah.
My wife does marketing too.
Right.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Well, very cool. So awesome to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No, but perfect. And we're going to do oh, wait. No, I didn't mean to do that one. There we go. The space for aliens. I have all these buttons on here, and I like to use them, but I never get a chance to use them because I get so in detail with the podcast or whatever. But it was really awesome to have you here. This is it's always fun to hear people's stories, get them out there, and I know when people go to and from work, it's something that's easy and accessible, and it's just fun to do. So. I appreciate everybody listening. If you get a chance, please, share this story, give it a 5-star, be cool. It would be awesome. The sponsor of the podcast is myself because that's what I do, and thoroughly enjoy it. But again, thank you for listening to On the DELO, and look up Mike. Look up his company, and especially, if you're going to build a nice home, get a good builder to do it. Yeah. So it's been awesome. So thank you, and everybody. Until next time. Peace out.